just a couple of guys, a couple of microphones, and a heck of a lot of know. It's Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.
What they say, it's not the X's and the O's, it's the Jimmies and the Joes.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Football on the Know. I am Jim McPhee, of course. Alongside of me is Mr. Joe DeCapita.
What's going on, know-it-alls? Welcome back for another edition of Football on the Know Show. We are here for you guys, and we need you guys to do us a huge favor by heading over to YouTube, hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, hit the share button, and share it to everybody that you know. That's it. And just so you guys also understand this, we are live right now. So if you comment down below, we will not only react to your comment, but if you have a question mark, if you have a question mark at the end of the sentence or anything, we'll even answer that question. We're here to have a good time talking football. We want you guys to join us, so tune in, and let's get the show started, Jim.
Yeah, that's right, Joe. Yeah, so not a whole lot going on, but, NFL
not a whole
camps have started, some of them out there. So some stuff coming out there. We're seeing some of the first press conferences being held to and stuff, and, a lot of questions being asked and a lot of different, things out there, too, and the way some of these guys look and – a lot of, people looking at, Caleb Williams, the way he's been doing it, this day one. And, oh, man, you see, we told you. And Daniel Jones, he's rusty. And then also what's going down in Pittsburgh, too. So we're going to continue to watch those battles and things like that. But I guess the biggest story that kind of is going on right now basically is all the talks about the holdouts and the hold-ins. And so we're going to go over a list that ESPN
a new
is
term
tracking
that
kind of
is
right now.
It's basically a whole new term. The whole hold-in term is new this year, which we are starting to get used to it. And if you don't know what hold-in means, it's very simple. Instead of holding out where you just don't show up to the facility, a hold-in is you showing up to the facility, but you're not practicing. So in a nutshell, that's what it is.
Yeah, it's sort of like, I guess when you're at school and, we have a walkout and you walk out, because you want to try and, stick it to the teachers, like, oh, whatever, we're against this, so we're going to do a walkout, and you walk out of the school, and then instead you had to sit in. Well, we're just going to sit down here and do nothing. So I guess that's the whole kind of situation here, too. I guess that's the less aggressive way if you're going to sit in on this whole thing.
New terms of the NFL.
So one guy we're not surprised is, a hold in. He's holding it in, but almost, people could see him doing a hold out. Is Brandon Aiyuk, and we've talked about this guy for a bit now in this offseason because again, that's probably one of the biggest names out there that's still looking for that deal and been most vocal about it, saying, asking for that trade and it not happening. And what you're getting out of his camp sounds different than what the 49ers are saying, as the 49ers, John Lynch, and their head coach, today, Kyle Shanahan, had their press conference, and they were kind of like, yeah, we've been still talking, and doing this, and we did that, and, things are there, but, these types of things happen, and, we're working on it, and we plan on having him here, which, again, that's probably all true to an extent of what, they're thinking. Yeah. Because, again, why wouldn't they want him there? I mean, he's one of the better receivers, at least for your number twos. You know what I mean? He's like a 1A, I would say, even. Like a few teams do have. So, I mean, who wouldn't want him there with how close you've been coming to the Super Bowl? You want to keep all these guys there on the team together.
As much as possible.
Yeah, so absolutely. So this is a big name for these guys. And Joe and I had talked about this multiple times, like we said. And, we had debated the fact that you pay Brandon Aiyuk, and what do you do about Debo after that? You know what I mean? Because, again, he's the guy that's been a little more injury prone, and where you could maybe talk him down to maybe a team friendly deal or something here. But I think the deal with Brandon Aiyuk is better off getting done here rather than trying to trade him, and you're not going to get much knowing that he wants out.
Yes, and there's all kinds of scenarios with this 49er team,
yes.
As you're going to soon hear about. But like John Lynch said at practice, said something along the lines that he's not optimistic or pessimistic that a deal can get done between Ayuk and the 49ers. But here's the interesting part. This is what I thought was interesting, is that he did say, he said in the near future, but did reiterate that the Niners plan to keep Ayuk for at least this season. So right there, we plan on keeping him for at least this year, since he's already under contract and we're trying to get a Super Bowl championship. We're looking to keep him for at least this year. So I thought that was kind of interesting, that from the standpoint is like, well, basically what he's saying is like, well, he's under contract. So if we don't get a deal done to extend him, then he has to play for us or sit out and suffer heavy fines that you're not going to want to, you don't want to lose money. So that's interesting to me, is the fact that he said at least this season. So it looks like maybe potentially there's a possibility that they are starting to come around to think that if they are that far apart on a contract negotiation, that maybe they might start to take some calls on possibly trading him. But I know for a fact that they want to keep him at least this season. But I just thought it was interesting that it wasn't like before he's been saying, no, we are not looking to trade him at all. We are looking to move forward and get a deal done and have him be a Niner for years to come. Well, now it seems like he's changing his tune just a little tiny bit when he had to re-answer the question. So I'm curious to see how this all ends up, because we all know how Ayuk feels. Ayuk has made it very well known. He's very unhappy at this point, wants to get paid more money. And if the Niners can't do it, he doesn't mind going to a different team that will. So this whole situation with Ayuk kind of bleeds into another situation, Jim. Trent Williams is not a hold-in. He's a hold-out, and hasn't shown up to the facility, is looking for another new deal. Now, the interesting part of Trent here is it just doesn't honestly make sense for the Niners to give him a new deal, because when you look at his contract right now, he's under contract until through 2026. So you got a couple more years, bro.
Yeah.
And it's not like he's getting lowballed in terms of money. You know, his base salary this upcoming year is $20 million. He on the Niners roster in terms of salary, he's number one.
Yes.
He typically is getting the most money, because it's not just the base salary of $20 million. He's also got a prorated signing bonus on top of that of just under $11 million. He's got a $750,000 game roster bonus, which is per game. He gets $750,000. And then he's got the workout bonus and what have you. So, and then when you look at 25 and 26, his final year, it escalates up to $32.2 million. Are you kidding me, dude? It's like you're making so much money, but now 2 years prior before your deal ends, now you want to stir some controversy. Now you want to make a problem happen, when already the Niners are trying to deal with Ayuk and try to get that deal done and keep him happy. Now you're going to stir the pot on top of it all. Debo's right around the corner, going to need a new deal. So it's like, dude, like I don't know how that John Lynch is going to try to orchestrate and try to make everybody kind of happy, or at least lukewarm to the point where they're all willing to play at least this year and then figure it out next year. But Trent, I think, is just out of bounds with this one. Like, it doesn't make sense why you just want to be the highest paid tackles, is basically what it comes down to. That's what you're making that statement, is you're like, well, I want more money. I'm making money. I'm the highest paid Niner, but I'm not the highest paid tackle anymore because contracts went up again. So
right.
I just think it's absolutely insane for him to ask for that right now.
Yeah, and I think we've seen this from Trent Williams many times.
Oh, yeah.
Multiple times. So, I mean, I'm not really
Always looking to
surprised
get
at
paid.
his reaction and what he does.
It's the timing,
and I get
though.
it. It is the timing. Exactly. But, I mean, for him, I don't think that timing really matters, though. It was timing for even in previous years where it wasn't really working out. But then also, I mean, I can see it as the fact that, yeah, he's an 11-time Pro Bowler. I mean, he's one of the best in the league. I get that. But even 36 years old.
36
a
years
couple
old.
years from there, again,
Yeah.
he's on the back nine, as like a lot of these guys like to say.
Back
he's
nine? He's on the 10th hole.
Oh no, he's not even on the 10th. You'd probably say he's on hole 17,
He's like
approaching.
13 seasons.
Yeah,
13 seasons.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, he's been playing at an extremely high level for his age.
Right.
But dude, at some point the body gives. And if you're trying
that's
to
what the
squeeze,
got to think about, right?
you're trying to squeeze the Niners now to give you another contract before it's done.
Right.
I just don't see him getting it, to be honest.
Right. I don't see that either. So somebody's got to give it, and who is it going to be? I mean, because now you're at that point where he is going to take fines. You know what I mean? $50,000 for each, practice missed or whatever.
Yep.
And that's
it
even
escalates too.
Yeah.
It's not just
Not
$50,000
just that,
across the board.
Yeah.
It jumps up
Yep.
for as long as you're out. The higher that fine gets, and then if it gets to the point where, like, you're just absolutely refusing to show up to practice, if it gets too close to week 1 and you're still not reporting, then it could get to a point where the Niners can take action and be like, you know what, now we have evidence, and we can prove to the NFL, like, we're going to void your contract now. It's going to suck in terms of losing that left tackle, but they would have the right to void that the rest of that contract out, where besides guarantees, they can get rid of the base salary and everything, but they still got to pay him the guaranteed money. But they could just void the rest of that contract out. So this is something that, and when I said poor timing before, I meant the fact that he has 2 more seasons on his contract. It's not like next year and then it's up.
Yeah.
It's 2 more seasons, and you're 36 years old, and now you're going to pound the table for more money while everything else is going on.
Right.
So,
and we've seen this even too with the despite age, some of these guys, again, it's just how you're built. And that's the thing. I don't think he's really built in that manner. Just even a guy that's not holding out, that's, still kind of wants a contract, but's been very just quiet about it. Matt Judon, posted the fact that, hey, this guy should be getting paid, this and this and blah, blah, or this. And he says, that's not me. He's like, it hurts sometimes, and you get to see some of these other guys make these bigger money deals or whatever. And I think I'm really good. You know what I mean? But I'm not going to sit here and complain. I'm going to show up, I'm going to do my work, and I would like to be here and be a Patriot for a while, and get, a newer deal and stuff. But those things will work out. And that's a great attitude to have. You know what I mean? Because that's what even the Patriot way is, you would even have to say, Joe. I mean, and how Tom Brady has even explained it in the way, if you want to try and win as a team, that's kind of the best way to kind of go at it. And you do see these players that, despite their age or how much they think they're still good, dropped off or whatnot, they still think they should be up there and pay and respected. And a lot of it, even too, I think at Trent Williams' point of view at this point, is that, hey, I did my time. I've showed how well I am. I want even more for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Look at my career and what I've done. And again, wrong timing, where you're knocking on the door of the Super Bowl multiple times, and many teams don't get that opportunity, especially if you missed it that many times, to get back. There's a terrible, true stat that, if the teams that make it the first time to the Super Bowl and then actually return, and lose and then return, is very minimal. You know what I mean? Like, and the Bengals are kind of looking like that at this point.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is like with the whole deal with Matt Judon, is he held out the first practice, right? Like,
and
kind of like a soft holdout, basically. Like, one day I'm going to hold out the first day, and then just to show them, like, hey, listen, we need to get this deal done, and then show up the second day and say, all right, from now on I'm going to practice, because negotiations are being had. Like, they are working towards the end goal of getting a contract agreed to. So showing good faith, right? Like, on both sides, now that they're negotiating, they're trying to work on a deal. All right, Matt's like, okay, I see that the evidence of you guys like trying to work on something and get it done. All right, that makes me feel a little bit more comfortable. I'm going to come and practice. So that to me is like the better avenue to try to get things done, is because when players take that stone cold standoff approach and say, you know what, screw you guys, I'm holding out. Like I'm just not showing up to the facility at all. I'm not going to practice, even if I do. Like I'm just not going to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Even though some of these, pretty much everybody, they work out in the off season. Maybe not the whole entire off season, but they do work out to stay in shape because the season flies right by. The off season, I should say, flies right by, and before you know it, it's go time again. It's training camp kicking into high gear. It's week one is right around the corner before you know it. Like it creeps up on you as a football player. So you got to be ready to go. And for guys like Trent Williams, who you're up there in age, I don't know why you start to stir the pot now. You're 36 years old, bro. Like you're never going to get the contract that you have currently at 36, 37, 38. Yeah, it's just not happening. And I'll tell you right now, the 49ers are probably going to – that's one player where they're going to be like, no, we're not redoing a deal. You agreed to this deal. You're getting paid really handsomely. You're the top paid Niner right now. Well, what are we talking about? You know? Mm-hmm. And then when you look at the Ayuk thing, the Ayuk thing makes more sense, where Ayuk's contract is about to end after this year. So now he's like, hey, I want job security. I need to get a deal, but I'm not gonna give you a team discount. I need to get paid for what I deserve to be paid. Mm-hmm. I'm one of the best weapons that you have, and I expect to be paid somewhere in the market for that. So that to me is a totally different argument or situation that you want to talk about between the player and the organization. But for Trent, man, it just doesn't make any sense at all. It wouldn't make any sense to anybody across the board. Mm-hmm. Just Trent. It just makes sense to Trent.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so next up, CeeDee Lamb has got to be the biggest name out there, even too, besides the Brandon Ayuk thing. So, because again, star wide receiver here for the Dallas Cowboys, they're still talking about the Dak Prescott deal too on top of it. So now officially, CeeDee Lamb not reporting. He wasn't even on the plane. Like, dude, he is just stone cold. Like, yo, I ain't showing up.
He's taking
taking the stand. You know what I mean? And we talked about this again a ways back. You know what I mean? Why not just try and get this deal done too for CeeDee Lamb, and then work out the Dak Prescott thing later, and you can always kind of plan for the future, I guess, after that. But the Cowboys let this happen to themselves, Joe.
Over the years.
Over the years. Even he could have figured it out, even mid-season, last year, figured something out with Dak to try and, reward him. I would say a small reward, a raise from what he kind of did, made it to, as far as he could again, and, to show that you're with him. But you knew this had to be the big signing you had to get done, just CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah. So, I mean, here's the thing, though, too. This is the crazy contract that the Cowboys agreed to the second time around. The base salary was like next to nothing for 3 out of the 4 years. Mm-hmm. Okay. And this upcoming year in 2024, his base salary jumps up to $29 million. He has a prorated bonus of $26 million. So that all equaling up to like $55 million in terms of the cap number. That's 21% of your cap space that's being taken up this upcoming year with a quarterback that is 31 years old. And the rest of those years, because they tacked on 4 voided years, which it helps you string out that bonus a little bit longer past the actual date of the contract. So they're still going to have to pay him all that prorated bonus for the next 4 years into 2028. But you're right. When it comes down to, like, you could think about it this way, from this standpoint, and this is where I feel like there's some organizations out there that do this the smart way, where when you have a player's contract coming up to the point of ending, what if you do it a year ahead?
Yeah.
And you get ahead of the off-season race, so to speak, where you got some of these other quarterbacks, like Jared Goff just signed a new deal. Tua's going to be signing a new deal. Jordan Love's going to be signing a new deal.
Yep.
You have to compete with those contracts now. If here's the dangerous part, is if the Cowboys don't get a deal done with Dak right now, and Tua and Jordan Love agree to a new deal, guess what? Those deals are going to be $55 million on average a year or more. Now you have to say, all right, oh, shit.
Mm-hmm.
Now we got to either be the same or supersede that. So it's like if you did this a year ahead where Goff didn't sign a deal yet, and now that you got all these other quarterbacks that haven't signed a deal yet, it would have been a little cheaper. You could have maybe gotten away with a $45 million or $50 million at least average per year type of contract for Dak, and everything would have been gravy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But now you're looking at competing with other young quarterbacks now getting new deals, and you're going to have to try to be somewhere close to that or even supersede that. So I think that they, like you just said, Jim, I think they completely handled this whole situation with Dak the worst way you possibly can. And now they're behind the eight ball. Mm-hmm. Now they're in the firing range where they're going to get shot up and executed. So and that's the other thing is this is such a big deal now because now it's not just Dak this year. Now you got to deal with CeeDee Lamb, who, listen, one of the best wide receivers in the league is one of those kind of the younger generation that is growing up to be the next generation of elites. And now he's looking for his deal. You got to worry about trying to keep Dak, but at the same time, you got to appease CeeDee Lamb. You cannot at all. Dak Prescott is one thing, being 31 years old. Maybe you could be like, all right, well, let's start to make a plan of moving on from Dak. We're not going to look to try to break the bank and keep him. They have Trey Lance in the background, who they did trade for with a reason, with a purpose. Probably most likely was going to be like, hey, we're going to work with them, we're going to groom him and develop him, and maybe eventually he can get up to the speed to where he's going to work for us in the future. And if it gets to the point where like it is now with Dak, we can probably move on from Dak, save ourselves a ton of money, use the money we were going to use towards Dak, and now you can make CeeDee Lamb happy, keep him there, and you got a quarterback in Trey Lance who's not getting paid squat, and build the rest of the team around him. Maybe that was the thought process when they traded for Trey, and maybe that's something that they're battling with right now. And it's going to come to a head really soon because honestly, if I'm in that bad situation right now in the front office for Dallas Cowboys, I'm saying, let's roll the dice with Trey. We traded for him. We've been grooming him in this offense. He understands the offense. And instead of paying Dak, who's 31 years old, I get it. Quarterbacks can play longer now. You can play until you're 40 years old now if you stay healthy enough. But let's be honest, you never know what's going to happen the following season. You never know, does Dak Prescott get a career-ending leg injury of some sort or something like that. Instead of paying that dude all that money, now let's just reinvest that money, lock up CeeDee Lamb, put Trey Lance in the forefront, and let's see what we can do. We can build more. We can get more pieces and more players next offseason in free agency now. Now we'll free up a whole bunch of money. So that to me seems like what they're playing, the idea that they're playing with. I don't know if they're going to actually pull the trigger and do it. I just think that this is just a terrible situation to be in if you're a Cowboys fan.
Yeah, and I agree with you too. I mean, if that's the situation, that's what you probably should already start to do. The reason why they brought Mike McCarthy in anyways was to be that big offensive type of guy. The offense wasn't getting to where they wanted to do. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So they bring him in. You do the trade. So that's obviously was, Jerry Jones' idea. Let's bring this guy in. You're going to get him for practically nothing. So you have, so much of a higher ceiling, So that's what they should probably try and figure out now. They should have did it. And like you said, and we talked about it, we'll get a better deal on Dak Prescott early on, because if you're paying him now, if you even try and lock it in and he is up there with your Jared Goffs, things like that, say he does get injured and then the fans get a chance to see Trey Lance out there and say he's successful. Anything.
He doesn't have to be amazing.
Just enough to sniff manage that to where now you've signed, him, Dak Prescott to an extension for more money.
60
and now you figure you might have to just try and get rid of him somehow again anyways.
Right.
So it would have been better to try and figure it out if you're going to give the extension or not, or look to the future and then, let them ride it out or whatnot, you know what I mean? And prepare for Trey Lance to even be your starter this coming season. You know what I mean? Not even say trade Dak Prescott. Say, hey, we're going to let it roll out and finish out his career here. And then he could be a free agent, and then we're going to start fresh with Trey Lance.
And the other thing
should be the situation instead of paying the guy and then having, something like that happen.
Yeah, and the other thing, too, is let it ride out with Dak, like you said. But then next offseason, guess what? Trade up and get a quarterback. Draft a quarterback, and then you have Trey Lance and whoever you end up drafting compete for that starting job. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then you just hand the torch off. May the best man win.
Yep.
That to me is a better way of handling this now that it's gone so far with Dallas and Dak that you can't. They very well know you cannot lose CeeDee Lamb. By any means necessary. Right. That cannot happen. No. He is 25 years old in the prime of his career and is already lighting up the league. So he's been doing it since his rookie year. So, but his last year in his contract, he's making a hair under $18 million this year in terms of base salary. His cap percentage is just below 7%. So, compared to a lot of the receivers in this league that are at his level, his talent level and all that, he makes 7% of their cap. So right there is an injustice. And we knew this was going to get to this point because it was a rookie deal. But now it's like, okay, now you got to pony up.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay him Justin Jefferson money, but you got to pay him something close. You got to be comparable in the
it's got to be close
in the range of the market.
Yeah,
for high end. So, that to me, just like you kind of alluded to earlier when we were talking about it, is CeeDee Lamb's got to be first. Yeah. Lock him up. Get him happy. Yep. Get him locked up, because then the whole thing with Dak, it's going to probably take care of itself, because even if you can't agree to an extension, you just make Dak play out this year.
Yep.
And now look to maybe possibly trade up in the draft and get a quarterback that you like, and then Trey Lance and him can battle it out, and then whoever wins the job going forward for the future. So I think we both I think we both agree that that's the better way to handle this now. But let's just wait and see what the Cowboys do.
Yeah, like I said, they put themselves in this own situation here. CeeDee Lamb, he's got to be somewhere near Justin Jefferson. I don't think, more, but I'm sure CeeDee Lamb is looking for more. I mean, that could be part of the situation too.
He won't get more.
Because he wants to be highest paid, I'm sure. But, I don't see that being, the case here. So let's see how CeeDee Lamb takes that and what he does. But again, we talked about this before, and we've heard in locker rooms that it's all about average per year. And if it's that sweet number for him, making so much per year, I think he'd be happy with that.
And it doesn't even have to be that, because teams can be very creative with the structuring of a contract to make them the highest paid.
Yes.
But it's not going to kill the team's cap. So whether you do that with bonus money, a signing bonus, because we've seen rich teams like Dallas got a lot of money. Jerry Jones got a boatload of money. So if he really wanted to, he could be like, you know what? I'm going to cut you a check for $40 million right now. Sign the contract, or more than that. Maybe he goes even more. Maybe he says, I'm going to give you an $80 million check if you sign the contract for the next 5-6 years. You know what I mean? At least keeps the cap number down and doesn't harm it at all. So something like that they could probably pull off. But I do know that teams do get creative with, even though the baseline number or the cap number might not kill them, but everything else is like, okay, well, they're getting bonus money and they're getting this, that, and the other thing, and they're getting guarantees, and there's different ways that they can make CeeDee Lamb very happy and make him one of the highest paid, if not second, third behind Jefferson.
Yep. All right, one of the next guys we're going to talk about, again, it's not a holdout or a holding even as well. The deal is nearing its end here, and it's Jordan Love. I think the interesting thing, too, it's funny how this is, well, I think a lot of teams and players wish I kind of like a deal would happen like the way this one is kind of going down, right? Nothing really got hurt. Nobody's on Twitter, pushing and shoving on there, saying this and that, changing, taking the logos off their, accounts. And it's funny is Brian Gutekunst here from the general manager for the Packers even said that he spoke with the representative of Jordan Love's team, and they kind of told him what their plans were coming into the practice. Now is going to lay out because they're nearing the closing this deal. And so, yeah, this deal is going to get done. The thing for me, though, is I'm wondering how much it's going to be because we questioned this on our other show about this and what's it really worth to you? Yes, he played really well, but a guy that sat on the shelf so long, and now we've come to this on this thing. Maybe, again, the Packers should have tried to maybe jump, the gun on it and kind of gave him a, still a friendly deal before the season, but you're not sure. Maybe Jordan Love is that stand-up guy that you're kind of seeing this play out the way it is, that he understands the situation. He's like, I'm not looking to break the bank. I'm not saying I'm the next coming of Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes or whatever, but, we're going to get a new contract, get off this rookie deal, and I've showed you that I can be a starter after sitting behind Aaron Rodgers.
The difficult thing with the whole Jordan Love situation for Green Bay is the fact that there's no history.
Yes.
He only played 1 year, and he surprised everybody. Like, I was surprised. Honestly, like we talked about it before the season even came, and we're like, well, how do you think Jordan Love's going to do? Well, I think he's going to do okay. He's going to do decent, but I don't expect him to like be the definite, like the guy that just comes in and blows everybody's doors off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And just take,
because we didn't have enough front coverage to guess that
nothing.
Either, though.
There was nothing on him. So he stepped up. We've seen flashes, right? Like before he took over that starting job, we saw flashes from him when he came in here and there due to injuries and whatnot. But we didn't have enough to back up like, okay, well, yeah, he's definitely going to be the starter. He's going to be fine. But he surprised everybody throughout the league on how well he played, how poised he stayed. It was almost like he's been the starter for 5 years. And had a tremendous season, but you're going off of just that one season. We don't have any evidence of his health. Like, is he going to be able to last 5 years down the road? You know what I mean? And with the rigors of the NFL season and getting hit and knocked down, hitting knocked down year after year after year, we don't have that. We got one season to base everything off of, and luckily he stayed healthy. But what's to say, like this upcoming year, he gets a little banged up. It affects his throwing motion. It affects his footwork. You know what I mean? The timing is off a little bit. And then that's going to change your opinion about him instantly. It's like, oh, well, he wasn't that good this year. Man, we just gave him a big deal, though. We're stuck with this guy. Like, is he ever going to wake up again? So that's the problem. That's the most difficult part, is that you're going off of one season's accolades, if you will, and now you're going to give this dude a deal. And honestly, it's one of those double-edged sword type of scenarios where it's like, okay, but let's just say if you don't sign him, he's going to be a free agent, then he'll go somewhere else. And if he lights it up somewhere, you're like, we really screwed up. We dropped the ball on that one. And you don't have an answer after him. So it's almost like you're forced into giving him a deal, that is comparable to the top 10 contracts that are out there. I really do believe that after this contract is all said and done, he's going to be higher paid than Jared Goff.
Okay.
And it really shouldn't surprise anybody. It really shouldn't, because a starting caliber quarterback, I know you're going off of 1 year, but apparently the Green Bay Packers, they know more about him than anybody else. And they have all the confidence in the world that he was going to be the future and is now, and they're going to lock him up long term. He is their guy. So, and they're going to pay him like the market dictates. So I expect it to be higher. I don't think it should be, personally.
Jared Goff is top 3 right now. So you think he's going to be now the top third, the third highest paid?
that's how the market goes. Whenever the contracts come out,
I get
the
that.
next guy gets higher. He gets more money than the last guy,
right?
And so on and so forth. The only difference is like if you're talking about a guy like Baker Mayfield, where he's been a little bit of a journeyman, he hasn't had tremendous success,
right?
And last year he had success for the first time in his career, literally. And based off that, they gave him a pretty good deal, but nothing like what you're seeing now with all these other starters. So I do expect Jordan Love, because here's the other thing too, is he's so young. Mm-hmm. He's so young. They know they're going to have him there for at least 7 to 10 years. Mm-hmm. You know, like, so it's a big investment, yes, but that's what the market has always been dictating. It's always like the next biggest contract or whatever. I don't think he's going to make the most out of anybody at the quarterback position, but I do expect him to be somewhere in that flow of top 3.
Yeah. And I tell you what, then that would even probably be open for debate with a bunch of people after that, because, again, when you look at top 5 right now, there's obviously some in there, like when you talk about Trevor Lawrence, that you'd say, oh, does he even deserve even to be there? Mm-hmm. But top 5 right now is Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, Jared Goff, Justin Herbert, and Lamar Jackson. So, and that caps off Lamar Jackson's average is $52 million a year. So you're talking, you know, Jordan Love being $54 million then, you know, so that would be right in between Goff and Trevor Lawrence. Yeah. Which I could, you know, potentially see that. I was thinking even $50 million. So where he's right underneath Jalen Hurts and before Kyler Murray, I think where he breaks that echelon, you know, but who cares? Even though that, I mean, it's still top 6, you know, around there.
Yeah.
7,
right.
You know,
he's getting paid regardless.
Yeah. I mean, that would be interesting, and I do hope that, you know, he does play well again, because, again, you kind of saw it last year. That's what I kind of looked when you see their body motion or, you know, language and stuff like that, and that's what I kind of saw in him too. It wasn't even exactly some of the plays that he made, things like that. It was his demeanor, it was the way he talked, the way he handled the team too and led the team. I thought that was really mature too as well, and kind of showed his leadership skills of being the quarterback as well.
Yeah, well, he's been taught by the best. Mm-hmm. You know, he's been behind Rodgers before. Like he's already learned how to be a pro. Mm-hmm. And now that he's 26, you know, or last year he's 25. He got his shot at 25 years old. Finally got his shot, and now he's 26 years old. He's grown up behind the shadow of Aaron Rodgers to the point where, like, nothing should disrupt this guy. This guy's learned so much from Rodgers in his tenure there that he's picked up on more than a few things, and he's taking that into his young career right now. So I think Love's going to do great. I do think that Love is going to continue his success, and how could he not? Because the Packers roster is pretty darn good and young. So, like, that's the moral of the story for Green Bay anyway, is the fact that they're all young. Their offensive line now is young. It's way younger than what it used to be. Their receiving core is all young guys. Jordan Love himself is young. Mm-hmm. The running back, Josh Jacobs, that they just acquired, is young. Like, and then the defense, they've been making that and turning that around to get more of a youth movement there too. Yeah. So, yeah, I like where the Packers are headed. I think when the deal gets done, I'm curious, like you, Jim, in the fact of I want to know what the breakdown is. Like, we're not going to get the breakdown when it gets announced, but then maybe 2-3 days later, then we'll start to see, like, okay, on average, it's going to be this, and the guarantees and the signing bonus, whatever. So, yeah, it'll be curious to see for sure.
All right, now one of the other guys that's actually holding out, which is kind of a head scratcher too on top of this, and this is another guy like we kind of talked about, a veteran, has played well in the past and still is good and everything, but gets traded to the Jets 4 months ago, and now instantly here he goes. Guy. He wants the a new deal and everything after he's getting paid pretty decent for the next couple of years, and that's Hassan Reddick. Yeah,
and this is perplexing to me. I don't understand from Hassan Reddick's point of view here. Mm-hmm. Is it about the team he got traded to? Was he unhappy with being traded from the Eagles to the Jets? Honestly, it makes sense if that's how it is, because maybe he thought, like, hey, I'm with the Eagles now. We're definitely gonna push for the Super Bowl next year. I know we're working our way up to that. And then all of a sudden, for someone to tell like, oh yeah, by the way, Hassan, we just traded you to the New York Jets. You know, maybe it was a little bit of a shell shock type of
here to die.
Yeah, maybe it was a little bit of a shell shock emotion and situation for him, to where he was like, you traded me away, one, and then you traded me to the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
They just typically don't win games.
Yeah.
They typically don't make it to the playoffs, and now you sent me there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's part of it, and maybe it's still got to kind of smooth over for him until he's going to be like, all right, I'm gonna report, and we're gonna work on this thing, because I know for a fact that Jets have made an offer to him, and they made a very, very generous offer to him of $25 to $28 million on average of an extension, and this is for a guy that, honestly, like he is aging. He's up there. He's approaching that point in his career where maybe you slow down a little bit, you lose a step. The body starts to ache and hurt a little bit more. And if you're Hassan Reddick and you're looking at if he took a step back and looked at the roster for this upcoming year, it's got to give you some kind of inspiration. It's got to give you some kind of confidence. Like, okay, you traded me here. I'm not happy with it, but I think this team can do something, and then with me added to it, maybe we go over the top. Maybe we take that division. Maybe we go deep into the playoffs. So, for me, I think he's mishandling the whole thing. When you're a new guy, yeah, it sucks that maybe you got traded and you didn't want to be, but now you're the new guy on campus, so to speak, and it doesn't send a very good message to the rest of the locker room and the organization that you're just holding out immediately, basically after you get traded. And now you're looking for a big time deal. And when a big time deal comes into your lap with that Jets offer, and you're like, nah, you guys got to do better. It's like a slap in the face to the Jets organization. Like, they're trying it, and you just flat out don't want to be there. Like, what is the real reason?
Yeah. I mean, because maybe, again, he's looking at that. He's on the last year of a 3-year deal that's non-guaranteed, $14.5 million plus some incentives. And maybe he just looks at it and says, listen, I don't want these incentives. I know I'm good enough. I can do this. I want some more, again, guaranteed money. I want this, and like you said, though, what they offered was good. 25
That's really
to 28
good money.
million, take that. So, I don't know what goes through guys' heads like that. Again, maybe it's just an ego thing. I mean, people talk about wide receivers being divas and stuff, but some of these guys are getting just as bad. You know what I mean? And like you've talked about even too with some of the contracts that are getting exploded for linemen and things like that, edge rushers and stuff like that, getting crazy. And some of it is guys like this again who are holding on to saying, hey, I'm still can do this, I can still do that. Yeah. And when, hey, you just got brought to a team where the Jets, where they have some really good players, some youth too, with a veteran quarterback right now. Last year you weren't able to, but now you got a fresh start, and the Jets can really make some waves, and you could be a part of this. You know what I mean? And we can bring you along with it, and even we could maybe give you that extension, on a friendly deal for a couple of years longer, which they offered. And for him to snub it and be like, nah, forget that. That's craziness.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, right now, currently, he's, like you said, he's getting paid $14 million.
Yeah.
Base salary, his cap number's 15. It all works out. Like, my thing is, he's 30 years old.
I think he's got 500,000 in bonuses too, or something.
Yeah, 500,000 in other bonuses. His workout bonus is 250,000. It's just below 6% of the cap for the Jets, so it's really nothing to them.
Yeah.
And then and then on top of it, for them to offer 25 to 28 million, is it for 1 year though? That's the one thing I couldn't find out, is if that contract offer was for 1 or 2 years or 3 years or something like that, because he is 30, and I'm pretty sure they don't want to give him too long of an extension, just for the fact of you never know what's going to happen when you get over 30 years old. So I think it's a terrible situation. I think Reddick is kind of handling it the wrong way on his end. I think the Jets are really trying to make amends and make it all work. I think in the end of it all, it does get worked out. It's just, I I feel like it's being mishandled by Hassan Reddick and his agent.
All right. Just an announcement quick. For some reason, the chat box isn't working, Joe, but
awesome.
I have been tracking Facebook, and we got Stephen McGucky's in the house.
All right.
It's been a long time. He says, what's up, guys?
Steven?
What's up, buddy?
What's up, brother?
And we got Mike Tackett's also in the house.
Oh, Mike Tackett's here, too. All right.
All right. Well, we'll give a shout out to you in just a second here. Stephen will get to your comment. But Mike Tackett says, with the changes we're consistently seeing from the NIL and profit sharing now in college to an extended regular season, more injuries than ever before, to international games, hard knocks, lack of profit sharing, and player salaries, the NFL is the only major league in North America without guaranteed contracts. What do you guys think will be some of the things brought up during the next CBA contract? Will we have a strike before 2030?
That's one thing that nobody wants. That's the only positive, is the fact that NFL owners don't want that. The NFL doesn't want it. Obviously, they lose money. And then the players don't want it because they don't get paid. So, like, they might get guarantees, but they don't get paid like game checks or anything like that, or bonuses. So you're messing with everybody's money, in other words. So, of course, nobody wants a work stoppage or a lockout. But I do think that the one thing that is going to kind of spearhead everything, and it's going to be this lengthening of the season yet again. It's going to be going up to 18 games. Now, usually when the NFL kind of makes like a, wink, wink, nudge, nudge type of movement, where they're like, we need this to happen. What do you guys want from us in return? I think everybody always looks at more money as a thing. But now I just feel like that the contracts are getting way out of hand. I understand that the cap keeps moving up, and rightfully so, because revenue is skyrocketing. The NFL, I think, just made $13 billion last year, and setting an all new high in terms of revenue. That all getting divvied up between the owners and whatnot. But I think that there's a few major topics that have to be addressed. One is how you're going to go about getting the 18-game season approved from the Players Union. Like we even discussed, Jim, like about adding another bye week. So that makes up 18 weeks is adding another bye week to extend it. So that way there's football for 18 weeks, but each team gets 2 bye weeks, and maybe that kind of alleviates some of that animosity about the players not wanting to do it. Because why would the players want to extend the season when there's so many injuries and everything like that? So that's one idea. And the other thing too is, like, I think that the NFL owners, I know they love making money, and extending the season is one way to do it, but contracts are getting crazy out of hand. Like I think that almost every position now is being paid more than ever before. And I do realize that the cap number keeps going up and all that. But when you think about how much money is being shelled out to guards now, centers, guys that typically didn't make the kind of deals that are being made right now, it's getting out of hand. Receivers get boatloads of money, and we all know that they're a prime skill position. And if you have an elite one, you hold on to it, you pay him what he wants. But everybody else now are getting into this cash grab. Guards now are making crazy money. Tackles typically always do. But now it's not just the left tackles. Also, right tackles are making a lot of money. Quarterbacks are always going to make the most. And everybody in between. D tackles are getting crazy money. Linebackers now are making, safeties even. Safeties used to not make that much. They used to make they make $5 to $7 million a year. Now we're looking at deals that are $12 million a year. It's insane. So I think that's a whole other thing that is going to come to a head, where you're going to have to. I know you want to spread the wealth and whatnot, but it's just getting to a point where a lot of even a lot of the teams that don't have a lot of money, but they're smaller market teams, they can't afford the big payouts and signing bonuses and whatnot. They're struggling to get some of these guys, and that's the whole point of the revenue sharing, was to kind of combat that. But now we're noticing a kind of like a whole new age where you're still seeing some of these bigger markets still have a slight advantage in terms of signing players.
Stephen Bogucki said in his other comment, he said, I like Aaron Rodgers, but when he said the New York Jets or the Jersey Jets, no way. Not sure exactly what he means on some of that, but maybe he's talking about Aaron Rodgers is good, but not enough to get the Jets there, perhaps. I don't know. But
it's probably because of a comment he made about how they're the Jersey Jets.
Yeah, maybe. Could be. All right. So yeah, Hassan Reddick, again, I think it's crazy. Who knows where that will lead? Eventually, I think, again, after getting fined enough times, he's eventually going to show up.
I think it'll work out. It's just it's one of those things where, like, it's just being poorly mismanaged, and I feel like as soon as they kind of maybe have a conversation or something, they can kind of talk their way through all this. Yeah, it'll work itself out.
Right. And it's funny because it's always about these guys that aren't getting like 18 something sacks a year or two. It's like they're 10, 9, 11 around there. These guys are still fairly productive and doing well, but still wanting to get some bigger paychecks here. One nice guy that ESPN brings up in these holdouts and hold-ins and all this other stuff is Tua Tagovailoa, but we also had said that this deal is getting done, and they've got a situation too on top of this to where the team knows what they're doing. They're still going to report to camp, but he's going to be on limited practice to avoid any kind of injury, and they're working through this deal. Now, when you talk about Tua, and if you pair him with Jordan Love, I could see Tua being top 3, right there. Right around Jared Goff situation too, because again, not given the full opportunity early on in his early seasons and early years, and since he's been in control and had the reins, really been on those talks for MVP talk and doing really well and leading this Dolphins team to where a lot of people still think with Mike McDaniel here running the show that this team could make a push for the Super Bowl again.
Oh, 100%. I mean that offense is electric. Like. It's one of the most difficult offenses to defend. Honestly, like not only is everybody super fast, but they're all playmakers. Like they're all ballers. Like Tua, you joke about him all you want, and some people call him noodle arm, and he doesn't have so what? He doesn't have the strongest arm. He has a strong enough arm to get it to Tyreek Hill down. We've seen it before. A 40, 50-yard pass and gets it to Tyreek Hill. Yeah, it might not be the prettiest ball, or it might not be directly on point in stride, but you make the play. Like that's what it is. It's about results. So Tua's been a very good quarterback for them for the last couple of years. He's definitely grown a lot. I feel like in this offense, and is starting to come out as one of those guys that are just underrated or dogged a lot. And when you watch him play, like last year, like he was having a MVP season for the first half of the year, where it was just like, holy crap, this Dolphins team nobody could stay with them. They were like the new age Chiefs. When the Chiefs were like, they just would outscore people. That's what the Dolphins were like last season.
Yeah.
For a while. Like you were like, nope, that's a touchdown. Oh, that's another touchdown. And it just came to multiply and multiply. This team with Tua, and with the pieces that they've put around him, it's a dangerous team, and they're all young. I'm actually surprised Tua's only 26 years old. Like, I feel like Tua's been in the league for 10 years.
Right.
But he's only 26. Yeah. And as long as they keep building around him, upgrading that offensive line and doing whatever they can to give the pieces that he needs to win, the sky's the limit. I think this whole deal with Tua and everything it's going to happen relatively soon, much like the Jordan Love situation. We already know that they are very, very close with Jordan Love and agreeing to a new deal. And I feel like Tua is just one of those things where, like, negotiations are going well. They're getting there. They're chipping away at it. And then before you know it, maybe Love is the first one to sign. And then right after that, Tua is the next to sign. So But yeah, why wouldn't you want to sign this guy? And you know what's funny, Jim, is like there's a lot of Dolphins fans that are haters of Tua.
Yeah.
Like his own fan base
Right.
doesn't like him. And I get it. They watch all the games. They've seen all the plays. And yeah, maybe he makes a mistake and whatever. But no quarterback's perfect. And even though like he does have his limitations, they managed to overcome them. And Tua does play extremely well. I know he doesn't play well every time, but he does it in a fashion where you're not going to lose all these crazy games that fans are worried about. This offense with Tua at the helm is your guy. You should be supporting this guy now. Like he's been deemed the starter, and they're not moving on from him right now.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, well, I think it is too. It's like when you see Tua, yes, he's playing well. Regular season looked really good. Number 1 ranked, offense. Defense was good still too. But then that one playoff team, you guys were built to beat the Kansas City Chiefs, and you guys put up 7 points in a playoff game. And Chiefs beat you 26-7. You only scored in the second quarter and, blanked in the rest of the game. Yes, your defense did enough to hold the defense, the Kansas City Chiefs to 26, but with this offense being that crazy, with the speed and the weapons that they had, the fans expect more, and they're going to put it on the quarterback for that one, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, but you got to look at that team. That team was riddled with injuries going into the playoffs.
I understand that.
No, the offensive
the minds of the crazy fan.
Yeah, but the offensive line, like that's the thing is like, well, let's get into the minds. Like, hey guys, listen up. Your team was limping into the. You had You were a team that had no DNs, no healthy DNs on the roster going into the playoffs.
Yeah.
You had to sign guys off the couch just to assemble a D line.
Yeah.
And then offensive line wise, you guys were so banged up. Like, of course, there was lack of protection up front. It definitely intervenes with the way you want to attack with your offense or the way you want to play defense. So, I mean, guys were heavily injured. Like, I know I'm not trying to say as an excuse, but I'm just saying it does matter. It does dictate your games. So cut the guy a break. Yeah. Like the guy can only do so much. If he has no protection and he's always running for his life, there's going to be times where he might throw a pick or something like that because he's trying to make something happen and he just doesn't have time to do it. So it's like, I mean, come on. What are we doing?
Yeah, exactly. So there you go. That's the holdouts. That is the hold-ins.
Holdouts and hold-ins, guys.
Yes, absolutely.
Make sure there's going to be a quiz after all this.
Yeah. Okay. So
written quiz.
Before we head up out of here, we got one more list we kind of want to run through. Joe had found an article on Bleacher Report. Joe, right? Wasn't it about
four NFL running backs in the best position to have a breakout year this season?
Yeah, the best position to have a breakout year. Okay,
it's the running backs in the best position to have a breakout year.
Right. Yeah, running backs have okay. So let's go through the list here. Let's see what 4 that they choose that they think. Let me kind of guess though. All right,
go ahead.
Best to have a breakout year.
In the best position to have a breakout year.
Man.
So they're in the best.
I don't know. Yeah.
In other words, a running back is in the best situation in order to have a breakout year.
Saquon Barkley?
No,
I don't know. Let's just go to the list. What do we got?
So we have Tyron Tracy Jr. for the New York Giants as their first candidate. Tyron Tracy Jr. Rookie. He is a rookie. He's a guy that played 1 year in college as a running back, as a true running back. The other 3 years, he was a wide receiver, but he does have he has a very dense body type. Like he's very solid, kind of like Debo in a sense, where he's got that like that body type where like he can play either position and he's very difficult to bring down. He is tough. He's strong. I actually liked him out of the draft. I didn't like him as much as some other people. Like I feel like they had him rated pretty high. As a running back, they had him rated in the top 10. So a lot of people that did in league circles. I didn't have him rated in the top 10, but I had him rated like right after the top 10. I think he does have promise. I just got to see more from him. 1 year of college tape doesn't really tell me like you can do it in the NFL. So it's a chance for him to blossom. And quite honestly, you look at the what running backs they got. You know, they got Devin Singletary in free agency, and so far is penciled as the starter. And if that's your guy that you decided, like, okay, this is going to be a starter going forward, he's going to be not necessarily the feature back, but a guy who's going to be the starter in the lineup. You got a rookie in Tyrone that I think this is a situation where he could possibly beat out Devin. He could take over maybe halfway through the season. You know what I mean? To where, like, he might show enough to the Giants coaching staff and the fans out on the football field that, yo, why aren't we playing this guy Tyrone instead of Devin? Devin seems to trip over his own feet. Tyrone runs through people. Yeah. So I think I do agree with this selection as being one player that's in a very good situation that could potentially break out.
Yeah. I mean, I can see he's in a good situation. Will he? I don't know.
Well, that's what it's about.
But I guess so. Yes.
It's in a good. It's funny that the best situation. Yes, I guess. It's in the best situation to have a breakout year.
That's because again, not a lot of people trust in Devin Singletary. That's
I don't, and he's not even on my team.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so who's
the next guy is on my team.
Yeah, there you go.
Zamir White. With Josh Jacobs leaving the Raiders, Zamir White steps up, second-year type player, and is a giant running back, like very big, powerful type of running back. He's a power back. Literally, he just likes to run through people. The problem with that I have is that he doesn't make plays happen, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
He just runs a straight line. And I haven't seen the guy try to make anybody miss with a juke. I haven't seen him. I haven't even seen him use a stiff arm. Being a bigger power back, you would think he has a good stiff arm, but I haven't seen it yet. So, like, there's a lot of question marks I have about this guy. And, yeah, he's in a good position to maybe have a breakout year, but I really don't think that he will because he's not the same. When you try to compare him with, like, Josh Jacobs, who was there, Josh Jacobs made things happen. You gave him the ball in his hands, and he would deviate from the – so, like, he was supposed to go in the A gap or the B gap, and he would deviate from it because it was closed up and would just bounce it to the outside and run for 10, 15 yards. Right. That's making plays happen. Or breaking the tackles. You know what I mean? Doing spin moves, juke moves, making people miss and getting extra yardage. That's playmaking ability. Zamir White, I simply just don't see it. I see a guy that just runs straight. He runs where he's told to run and doesn't deviate from it. And honestly, like, yeah, he might fall forward every time and get a couple yards, but I'm looking for a guy that is a little bit more dynamic than that. So,
right, yeah, and like you said, it fits their mold or what they're saying, kind of in the best position because you get Josh Jacobs is no longer there,
right.
So you're the youngest guy there. You gotta be the guy to step up because behind him, you've just got a mix of some veterans that
Alexander Madison,
right, stuff like that, and Madison again, he got abandoned by even his own team and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I can see him even sharing carries with him every now and then. So yeah, I mean, I can understand where they're looking at. He's in the best position,
right?
That's why it's funny they say it this way because it's safe. There is no way to say
they have to be safe because we ridiculed them for every other article they came out with.
Yeah, that's true. That's the safe way to say.
They're trying.
We didn't say they were going to. We just said they're in the best position to.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep.
You got that.
Yeah, and that's the thing too is like I mean the one I'll tell you the one guy that they didn't mention on this list that I think for the Raiders anyway the rookie Dylan Lobby. That they drafted later in the draft. I think he has more potential than Zamir, but we'll see, right?
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yep.
Next one, this one I'm pretty excited to see. Trey Benson from the Arizona Cardinals, another rookie who, in a lot of people's minds, especially mine as well, I had him as my number one running back coming out in this past draft. The Cardinals ended up getting him in round 3, and He does have a veteran, he's behind James Conner, and rightfully so, right? Because James Conner, he's been that workhorse. He's been the guy. He's actually made a lot of plays happen. He's been that lock key type of running back for the Cardinals. And here comes Trey Benson, where I think Benson's in a good position because Connor's not the healthiest guy either, because he has been banged up from time to time and has had to fight back from injury and what have you. But so here's the thing is that Trey Benson, I feel like it's going to be an interesting battle in training camp because you got the young guy versus the old guy type of thing. And Benson, I think, is going to surprise a lot of people. I think Connor holds on to the job just because he has the experience. But when it comes to the regular season, you might see Benson carve out more of a role as the season goes on.
Yeah.
Where it might get to the point where, like, well, man, Trey's just playing just better than Connor. And Connor's a little banged up. So maybe we dial it back for Connor and let Trey start a few games. And then before you know it, he ends up the starter by the end of the season. I could definitely see a scenario where that kind of plays out. Or you have the scenario of James Conner once again getting injured, missing significant time, and then Trey takes over, and then just that's the end of it all. So I do agree with this selection where Trey Benson is in a great position, right? We got to say that he's in the best position to have a breakout year. So
right,
I do agree with this selection here.
Yeah, because like you said, James Conner has never had a full season in his career.
Mm-hmm.
So he's never been there like every single game or anything like that. So that shows you. He's coming off his best season ever at the age of 29.
Mm-hmm.
So, like you said, best position to be set up, poised for somebody to have a breakout year because James Conner is most likely going to miss some time. He's getting a little older for a running back and running back standards, I guess. And coming off his best year, and he hasn't had a 1,000-yard year in, since 973 yards was closest back in 2018 when he played for Pittsburgh. So the likelihood of him putting up another 1,000 yards this season is very highly unlikely. So it sets the table perfectly for this guy.
Right. Because Kyler likes to run with it too,
Yeah, he does.
Last but not least, our fourth option here. I'm surprised they couldn't do more, but Kamani Vidal, a rookie for the LA Chargers. I love Kamani Vidal. I thought he was one of these sleepers in the draft that you could get late and could potentially develop into a starter for you. I really like him. I love the talent that he has. He's very strong. He's low to the ground, hard to bring down. However, they have Gus the Bus as their featured back, it looks like, and J.K. Dobbins, who they're giving one last ditch. The last team to give him another shot to hopefully stay healthy all year.
Yeah.
J.K. Dobbins probably will get hurt again, and history tells us. So maybe he moves up a spot to be a backup. But Gus the Bus usually stays pretty healthy, even though they pound the rock and run him like crazy, especially in this type of offense, and has had great success. I don't know if Kamani Vidal is in the best position to make a huge impact to the level of, all right, we got to worry about Kamani Vidal on a weekly basis.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's the third option currently on the roster, and I just think that I think it's going to help. One, I think J.K. Dobbins is going to help him not being the feature guy, where he's only going to be asked to come in, spell Gus. And then maybe he can carve out a larger role as the season goes on. But even if he gets hurt and Kamani takes over the backup role, he's gonna get some snaps, but I don't think he's gonna have enough snaps to be a major player in the NFL. So I kind of disagree with this option, at least for this year.
With this here again, because like you said, who they got there, and with the Greg Roman offense too, you could tell these guys were brought in to kind of do that, and he trusted them to do what they're going to do. But getting this guy in the 6th round too, I mean, it was a great pickup for them to kind of slide in there, and that would be a nice movement for him to move up there and get an opportunity. But especially if the injuries do pile up, so I can see where they're looking at it from that scenario. Yeah. You know what I mean? Injury wise. But like you said, maybe it is a bit of a reach here. And like you said, too, I'm surprised they couldn't come up with more. You know what I mean? Instead of just limiting it to 4. Because there's even a few others out there.
And it doesn't I mean, they could have made the list bigger, and they could have just been not just running backs. They could have just been players. Like top 10 top 10 NFL players in the best position to have a breakout season.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like honestly, I'll tell you one right now, still on the Chargers, stay on the Chargers. Wide receiver, Ladd McConkey,
Yeah.
the rookie. I think he's not only going to be the starter year one, I think that dude is going to get a ton of playing time, and he's going to get a ton of opportunity to make a difference in the passing game. So that's one guy that I look forward to. Like, and you know,
There you go. Maybe we do our own list then,
there's
Joe.
other-
You just named our next show. There you go. It's on. You guys look for it next.
just
next
so you
week.
know, guys, it's the best position to have a breakout
Best
season.
position to have it. Yeah, so there you go. Well,
love
people will
the
take that
wording.
as truth. They'll mess it up anyway. Like, he said he was going to do it.
I was expecting a breakout season. I took Kamani Vidal in the third round of my fantasy draft,
I was gonna say,
and you lied to me.
Yeah, that would be the big one. I love that one. Yeah, definitely. All right, so you
but
know,
yeah.
there's the list.
Yeah, we got the
it was
list
fun.
going and everything.
So, all right, Joe.
I think we're done, right?
Yeah, we're done. Tell everybody
think we're
where
done.
they can find more shows, like more of our shows.
There you
go to
go.
YouTube, right?
Get it out there.
Get the old stuff
All
too.
right.
Look at the old stuff that we used to do, and where you can.
I mean,
find
if you
new
want
episodes,
to, it's
too.
kind of embarrassing if you go too far back.
Yeah, I guess
if
maybe
you-
though.
if
We've
you
had
get-
some good times and some good interviews.
Yeah, I mean, if you go so far back to where we had literally no background, it was like black curtains and a black table and us in black
I was
with black mics.
Yeah. I was thinking about doing an old, like, I go find on SoundCloud. I don't even think I have the app anymore, but go look it on SoundCloud and see if I can find, like, one of the first ones, like, originals.
Like the audio,
that we
yeah.
did, the audios,
Yeah,
and
just
leak it
audio.
out there just to kind of see what happens and
That would
listen
be
to it and
funny.
see what people thought.
Oh, it's terrible.
Our old roots, grassroots. But here, I'll do it for Joe anyways. If you guys want to see more videos like this one, you got one spot to go to, and that's a YouTube. Just search Football on the No Show right there. Click the like button, the subscribe, and then also the notification bell to let you know whenever we do go live, like tonight and things like that. As the season gears up, we're going to try to go live more too, bring you some interviews and share a lot more topics and things like that. And we invite you guys to definitely, if you do subscribe, watch the video, leave a comment. Even if it's years old, blah, 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 we see those comments and we'll still
do.
even respond to them now. And it helps us out and it'll be great. And we really respond to everybody out there because we do deem ourselves the most interactive football talk show
We
in
are
the world.
self-proclaimed.
And we are the most interactive football talk show in the world. And we love you guys out there and we will answer all your comments. So we appreciate it. And we'll see you guys next time.
Peace.
Join us next week from 8 till 10 Wednesday night for more Football on the No with Jim and Joe.